Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and we are beginning to talk about the OT. And today we're going to be talking about why we love Star Wars: A New Hope.
Where it all began.
I'm so excited for this. But hey, if you are new to the channel, hit that red subscribe button. We just make, simply put, Star Wars content that we love to talk about. That's it. We just want to talk about the stuff we love, and there's a lot of Star Wars that we love. We also have giveaways at every single one of our sub goals as the making of this video. 250 subs is the next giveaway we have. So if you missed that, it's not too late. We have another one coming up. I'm sure we do, but you know what? Go ahead and hit that red subscribe button to be included. So let's just get going. Maybe what would be cool is like talking about when we actually got introduced to A New Hope, and then like just start talking about why we love it. So why don't you start off?
Yeah, I was actually texting my dad today because I was asking him when he showed me Star Wars for the first time, and I thought it was A New Hope, so I confirmed with him that A New Hope was the first one I saw. But he didn't quite remember when I saw it, and even what I told him, I was like, I don't remember a time not knowing Star Wars. So it's a very early memory for me. So I was no older than 6. So any time in between there is kind of what he's saying. Between 3 and 6 is when I was introduced to Star Wars, and my first movie was A New Hope. And I'm very happy that is where I started, and that was my first exposure to Star Wars. I think that's the perfect place to start, because it really is. Yes, there's the prequels, 1, 2, 3. It's like out of order, but I think A New Hope is the perfect place to start Star Wars, regardless of when you're watching it now or whenever. It really was the beginning, and it sets up the prequels, and it just sets everything up. But why I love A New Hope is because that's what introduced me to Star Wars. Like that was Star Wars. It is Star Wars, and that introduced me to my favorite characters. It introduced me to like my favorite lines, just all the amazing things of A New Hope. It set everything up, and it introduced me to the stories we're even getting now. Like we're still getting content based off this beautiful movie that came out in 1977. It's still giving us stuff, so it's so cool. There's a lot I love about A New Hope, but my favorite thing, one of my favorite things is just the story of Luke's journey, being introduced to like Darth Vader for the first time. As a kid, and even now, I'm never a fan of the bad guys, but I always thought Darth Vader was such a cool bad guy. Like I just thought he was so cool. And I don't know why, but I'm like, this one bad guy I kind of think is cool, and I'm like, I respect him, I guess.
I respect him.
I respect him. I'm like rambling, but there's just so much to A New Hope that I love, and I think like I said, a huge part of it is just the journey and the story, and Luke, and seeing Leia, like as a little girl, looking up to Leia. I would, I put my hair in little buns. My hair's much thinner than hers, so they were like little tiny guys. But I thought she was so cool. I had Princess Leia shirts. I actually had a Princess Leia shirt that I wasn't allowed to wear at school. I got in trouble because I had a gun on it, so I wore it to school because Princess Leia had her blaster, and I was told I couldn't wear it. But that's a whole other video. That is a whole other video. What the heck?
That's ridiculous.
But yeah, anyway, and Chewie's one of my favorites, so you get to see him. And I could go on and on why I love A New Hope. I pretty much love every character in it. The development's amazing of all the characters, and it really sets up a beautiful journey that almost 30 years later, I'm still in love with.
Yeah, and a few things that are actually really cool. You were born on May 25th.
Yes.
So on Star Wars Day, on the release of Star Wars: A New Hope, that's actually your birthday. I'm just a little
younger.
Yeah, not 1977. We actually have a video we're going to make kind of about our perspective of A New Hope as millennials. And just what it was like being raised on that, it's interesting. But your dad's a real one, because basically when he showed you Star Wars, the special editions had just come out, and Instead, he showed you like the old VHS tapes. So he showed you, because we were just talking about how even the scenes that were added later, you were like, I don't remember that in my first viewings over and over as a kid.
Yeah, they're still new to me. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I forgot that those were added.
Yeah, and you know, I think what's so cool about what you mentioned about loving Star Wars, it is about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, what's so unique about this movie is that it's self-contained,
mm-hmm.
where there's no cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of open threads that we could revisit, you know, in future movies and sequels and prequels to A New Hope. But the good guys win at the end.
Yeah.
Like, really, they could have never made another Star Wars movie, and it would have been satisfying, because it's like, we got this sweeping space epic, awesome stories, awesome characters, but the story was done. But
it's not a cliffhanger, but I still feel like we needed more. But maybe if I didn't know, if I didn't know there was more, because obviously now I know there's more movies. But maybe if I didn't know, then I'd be like, yeah, that was a good movie. But I feel like now, I'm like, no, I need what's next.
Well, for me, a reason I love it so much is I'm satisfied by the end of the movie,
mm-hmm.
but I'm left hungry. I'm like I do want more.
Yeah.
Where other movies, they intentionally kind of like leave you wanting more, especially Empire Strikes Back.
That's a good example.
That's like the best one, where you're like, oh wait, what happened? Like,
right. Like, I need to know what happens next.
Yeah, and you know, for A New Hope, what I really like is, again, George Lucas is so good at this, where he just throws you into a world,
mm-hmm.
and he expects you to just run and keep up. He builds worlds like no other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all of these things being said so quickly, just like it's common speech. And it's like, what does that even mean? And I think that's part of why it's so good. Is
talking about the Clone Wars and those references?
There's all sorts of references like that. And even Luke, he says so many little one-liners,
mm-hmm.
and just Mark Hamill just delivers the lines.
Yeah, he does.
And you're like, what is that? Hold up, what was that? And you want to know more.
Right, you start asking questions.
Yeah, and you realize that there's a whole world that
mm-hmm.
is existed, and that you're getting a glimpse into it. And for me, why that works is on two levels. One, you have this like massive, this massive space opera, where it's like you have
mm-hmm.
like the rebellion and the empire, and you have star systems and massive ships. Everything's big in scale, but then it all just like funnels in on Luke
mm-hmm.
and his friends and these few people surrounding him. And I love that the story can be so massive, but at the same time like so myopic and just
mm-hmm.
pinpointed in its focus on Luke. And to me, that just works so well, because it
mm-hmm.
gives me the sci-fi and the fantasy that I want, but then it
mm-hmm.
also gives me the drama and
mm-hmm.
the family and this hero's journey that we're seeing. We get to see Luke grow, and and it's crazy that it came out in 1977 and it does not feel aged
mm-hmm.
at all. It feels timeless.
Yep. What's great about it too is not only was it a good story, like good storytelling with good characters, like I'm sure we'll make videos on this, but just visually what they did, like what George Lucas and Lucasfilm and his team did for the 70s is wild. Like it changed the game for pretty much all cinema, and for me to be able to sit there and watch it, I mean, we watch all the different versions, so you know, even the specialized or the updated ones, but to sit there and watch and be like, this still looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't like it has kind of like a 70s vibe, but it doesn't feel like it's an old outdated movie. Like they did so well on it. It's very impressive.
They really did. Like, and we have some cool stuff coming up where we're going to talk with a few people who actually saw A New Hope in theaters when it was released.
Mm-hmm.
purely to get that perspective of like, what was that like?
Yeah.
Because what's so interesting is if you look at the movies released in 1977, I mean, there's some amazing movies. There really are. But there's nothing like Star Wars. And like you said, even if you're taking a step back from the story, A New Hope is so good because it changed filmmaking.
Yeah.
Forever. It could never be the same after Star Wars.
Right.
And, you know, we just want to, I mean, how cool would it be to just be able to sit and talk with some people who just got to see it in theaters, like as a kid or as a teenager. And like, man, what was that? What was that like? Because not only did it change filmmaking, it changed people's lives.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts to me that because of a movie being released 44 years ago, that here we are sitting and talking about this whole
We're still talking about
universe.
Yep.
And it's absolutely incredible. And, you know, I think one last thought that I have on why we love A New Hope. We could go into a lot more, but this is the start of a few videos and a few conversations we're going to have on this very topic. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest reason I love A New Hope are the characters and the relationships there. Because I can find a little bit of myself in almost everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, even with like Leia, I could be like, man, I want Leia's bravery and her commitment to her friends and to her people. Or, I mean, you could just say like Han, you know, like, oh yeah, I kind of see that where it's like I'm kind of out for myself, you know, and even kind of like my background, I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't really believe in some of this stuff. I'm just kind of like out on my own. But then there was like a piece of Luke in me where it's like I felt like I was connecting to something bigger, and, you know, and I was like putting my faith in something. And, you know, that's what's so cool is that you can connect with all of these people. And even seeing Luke, you know, staring at the binary sunset, and his whole life changes radically. He was a you know, young adult playing with toys, you know, and like playing with that fighter pilot there, and he's just like, you know, doing his thing, working on a moisture farm. And, you know, then next thing you know, he finds out that he has a very big role to play in the galaxy. Do you have any final thoughts before we close off this one, the singular out of many videos that we'll have on A New Hope?
No.
Cool.
That's it.
That makes it even easier. So we've been making a lot of videos about the prequels, and we're going to continue to make them about the prequels. But we're actually going to start transitioning into other Star Wars stuff. We're going to be expanding our discussions and our topics of interest. But you know what? If you love Star Wars, if you love A New Hope, honestly, I don't know how you couldn't. But, you know, if you do, hit that red subscribe button, because we have a lot of cool stuff that we just want to build a community of Star Wars lovers, and we want to bring all these people together to just talk about how great Star Wars is. Again, we are two Star Wars nerds, and may the Force be with you always.